American football in Finland.
The voice in your ears and the face on your screen. I'm Perfect Purvis, and this is American Football in Finland. Today, I'm joined by both my co-hosts, Coach Q and Chris Green. What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
We back.
All right, we're back for another one. This is a good show today. But the AFF podcast is available everywhere you listen to your podcast, and you can check us out visually here on the YouTube channel, wherever you listen or watch. Make sure that you subscribe, follow, like, and anyone who listens or watch, but don't hit the button to like, follow, subscribe. We know you watching. You are a hater. That's okay. We're going to get on with the show. All right, it's first down. We get a chance to kind of unwind and talk about what's going on with us. Q, what's going on with you lately, man?
Not much, man. Just bought a new house. I'm doing this whole moving thing. You can kind of see the bed in the background a little bit back there. Well, they just delivered it, but handling that stuff, man. That's about it.
Ceiling fans, I miss those. We don't do that in Finland. We don't do ceiling fans in Finland. What about you, Chris? What you got going?
So my American football season is going to kick off this weekend when we're filming this. So we're going away to Cambridge. Horrible drive. It's like 3 3/4 hours, and there's no direct route. But yeah, it should be a good one. Practice been going good. The guys had a preseason game in Amsterdam last weekend. Didn't go so good, but we were down on numbers. We didn't have. We were missing a load of starters and whatnot. But we're ready to go for the season now. We should have most people back this weekend. So yeah, good to go.
Good luck to you guys being all physical and doing things. That reminds me about me. I do this like basketball class out here, and we're about to finish up. So not this weekend, but next weekend we're gonna have a little like the coaches are gonna play against some of like the older kids who take the class. Like it's not like real basketball. Like we're teaching like people that just want to play for fun, but we have like teenagers and stuff that are playing. But they asked me to come, they're like, hey, you want to come out there and hoop? I'm like, shoot, I'm going to get you 10 to 12. I mean, I might take 10 to 12 shots to get it, but I'm going to get it up there. Shooting percentage ain't great. But, coach told me in high school, if you open, shoot it. And I'm always open, 7-11 out here. So I'm excited to go out there, pull some muscles because I don't run. I don't work out. I stretch 3 or 4 times a week. I do like a heavy, like 15, 20-minute like stretch to get my muscles and everything loose, keep me open, keep my hips open more than anything, keep my hamstrings loose. But then I go out there, I find out I ain't got no stamina, no conditioning. But I go out there once. Like, it's the same way when I play like flag football. Like I'll go and play flag football all day, and I can't walk the next 2 days, but 3 or 4 days later, I'm fine. So why work out like regularly when I'm only going to do this once? So I'm excited about this basketball because I'm going to go get it. And then 2 or 3 days later, I'll be back. But the next day, don't look for me because I'm done. I'll be on the couch after. But it's exciting. It's something to do.
Are you a fan of the American Football in Finland podcast? Show your support in style. Rock our logo proudly on hoodies, t-shirts, beanies, and snapbacks, all designed for fans like you. Join us in celebrating American football in Finland. Grab your gear and be a part of the AFF community.
Okay, so every year, usually around like November, December, people start asking me, so who do you think gonna win next year in the Maple League? Like, it's crazy. Season don't ever start before May, but usually before Christmas, people already ask me who I think will win the next year before signings and everything. And I keep up with my stats. I don't know if y'all do that, but I keep up with my stats. I'm usually right. I've only been wrong two times. Last year was the second time I was wrong. In my 7-8 years, I've been picking who's going to win the Maple Bowl. Even the first year when I didn't know anybody, I still picked the Roosters. I was right. You could do that back in the day. I was one of the first ones to pick the Steelers when they went on their dynasty that Q says isn't a dynasty. But that's all the background of what's going on today. Is we're going to do it one more time for you guys. We're actually recording this a couple weeks before the season starts, so don't hold us to it too much. And this year, we've said it in every episode before this, things have changed so much like it's really going to be hard to pick who's really going to win or who's going to be in what place this year. But we're going to have some fun with it, and we'll get into it, and we'll start from the bottom as we always do here in a second. From the bottom, who do we believe will come in last place? And same style as always, we'll each say who we think and why. Just it's gonna be crazy that we never like talk about who we have before the show. So everything we have here is just us reacting and discussing where we have people. But I think we're all gonna be the same on this one, if I'm not wrong. But Coach Q, I'll let you go first. Who do you got in last place and why?
I'm going with just pre picks, I guess, prediction. I'm going Wolverines, Helsinki Wolverines. In order for them to, not be at the bottom, I think they would have to have a drastic turnaround of just bringing in some just elite players, bringing some guys in that makes their team just so much better. The import list that they bringing in pretty good imports, but they're going to need help. A lot of help, and I just don't think it's going to have them in that position to where they can win multiple games in the season. So, just going off of what I'm seeing, knowing right now what they bring and what they got, just from talks, I'm picking them. I'm picking the Wolverines. They can prove me wrong, but I think they need a.
What about you, Chris? Who do you got and why?
So I'm also going to go with the Wolverines, and the reason being is they're keeping everything pretty much under wraps. We don't really know who's going to be playing for them this year, other than a couple of imports they've re-signed. So we know Kevin Adams going back there. We know, is it Reels, the linebacker's going back there? So they've got a couple of guys that we know about. But other than that, I mean, Rasmus was all right last year, but really, they need an American quarterback. They need someone who can do the business back there. And I just think with this, they were in a rebuilding year, they said last year, but I think this season I don't see much improvement from them. And again, we're going off of limited information here. So partly due and parcel to we don't really know who they've got. That's why they're going to be at the bottom.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Wolverines, I got them at last. Mostly not even based on like what they could do, but because they haven't done enough in the offseason. Everyone has like made moves and kind of gotten a better team or what they would consider better from what they had last year. What the Wolverines have done is say, we're going to keep with the same guys, and we think that our players have gotten better. That's cool. It's a good strategy to build a program if that's what they want to do, but it ain't gonna win them no games this year. I mean, it might win them a game. That's actually what I think their goal is can they win a game this year? And that's a success for them. But still gonna put them in last place. So moving on to sixth place next. All right. Now we're talking about sixth place, almost last. Chris, you lead this one off. Who you got and why?
So in sixth place, I've got the Crusaders. And the reason being is that they've always got a ton of imports, but who are good standard, but not a great crop of Finnish talent. And we know in this league that you have to have solid Finnish players to be successful with complements from the imports. So I feel like even though they've got a good coaching staff, and I do believe in Rojo, I think he's still got it. He's a great guy. He's a great coach. But I just don't think that they've got enough talent on that team to be able to make the playoffs or get out sixth spot. And we've got nothing to base on what they were doing last year. Again, I think they're probably going to improve this year. I think they're going to be better. I like the quarterback that they've signed. I like that, but he's very mobile. But I don't think that it's the team that's going to be in the playoffs at the end of the season, unfortunately.
Good points. What about you, Q? What do you think in sixth place?
Man, it's a hard one. This is a hard one for me because I'm between the Royals and the Crusaders. I'm stuck in between them two. And I gotta pick. So if I pick one, I'm going Royals.
Okay.
I mean, with the quarterback change, I'm not confident yet. I'll see once the season starts. I know defensively they're going to be good, but the offense is questionable. And I think when you can't score points on a regular basis, that's going to be a problem. Not saying that's going to be their issue, but I think the Royals are on the brink. I don't think they're better than the top teams that normally are good. They're better than the top four. And like I said, it's up in the air with the Crusaders next, but I'll just say I'm going with the Royals.
Okay. I'm going to agree with Chris and go with the Crusaders. And the reason I have them so low is similar to why I have the Wolverines so low is I don't think they did enough to get better. Like, yeah, they changed a couple of imports, and I mean, because they had to more than anything, but they didn't move the needle up for me. They just announced a couple days ago when we were recording this, they have a farm deal with Turku. Big whoop, no offense, but Turku is a whole bunch of players who aren't that good at football, in my opinion. They're younger players, like they haven't played enough football to be impact. All they're doing is adding depth for the Crusaders, which they need, and that's going to help them throughout the season. But we saw last year they relied on certain imports to make their whole team run. And even though they're going to bring in more imports, we saw it happen last year. They couldn't consistently win because of it. I think that'll happen again this year. They're going to upset some people, and they're going to look good at certain times. And I think that they will get some like quality wins, but ultimately they're not going to be like consistent enough to win enough to get any higher than sixth place. So that's what I got for sixth place. We got 2 Crusaders, 1 Royals. Let's move on to fifth place. All right, so that's our sixth place picks. We had 2 guys go for Crusaders, 1 guy go for the Royals. Let's move on to fifth place. All right, now we're talking fifth place. Q, you kind of hit it on it earlier when you were talking about sixth place. I'll let you lead off with this one. Who you got and why?
All right, fifth place for me. I got Lotus. I'm going with them because I think another year on the Rojo's belt as a head coach will be getting changed for him. Well, I'll just say it'll help a lot. I think he knows what he has and what he needs, and I think he'll address it before enough to where it'll give them a chance to win games. Like Chris said, they're gonna have some highlights, because of the type of imports they have coming in, running back, RJ. They got a lot, a lot of weapons, and anytime you got a lot of weapons, you got a chance. So I chose to go with them in fifth. Overall, team-wise, they're not on the level of the Crocs, but I think they could be like close. So, yeah, I'm going with Aloha in fifth.
Okay, what about you, Chris? Who you got for fifth?
So in fifth place, kind of a swip and change with Q here. I'm going with the Royals. I feel like they're slightly better than the Crusaders. I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs either. I don't think they have enough talent. They were okay last year, but I can't see them making the playoffs this year. I don't think they have enough sign-ins and enough to be able to put it together. I just feel like fifth place is where they're going to sit. I just feel like the other 4 teams who are going to be, in my opinion, who are going to be above them are just better. Better systems, better imports, better quality finished players. Yeah, I just feel like they're going to be better than them. So that's why I've got them at 5.
Okay. So we got all different picks here. Fifth place for me, I'm going Kuopio Steelers, man. And, I don't know why that seems weird. Like, I don't know what I'm missing here, but I don't know why that's the reaction y'all giving me.
How the times have changed.
Times have changed. Now they can hate you now. They ain't gotta hate me no more. They can hate you now. I would never try them like that, ever.
I say it with a heavy heart. At least you know that. I say it with a heavy heart that I have them in fifth. And similar to a lot of the reasons the teams I have not making the playoffs, not being high on the list is I believe the Steelers are going to have a really good team. I think they're going to have some talented players. I think they're going to have great coaching, good finished players as well. But I don't have 100% faith that they're going to be able to pull it together every week. I think we're going to be looking at a little bit of a shift for them as a team, as an organization. I've said it before. The Kuopio Steelers we're going to see this year isn't it is not going to resemble anything we've seen before, which is hard to fathom where they're going to fit in. When I look at their team, I think of when the Kotka Eagles had came into the Maple League a couple of years ago, and I was really high on that. No. Listen, let me finish the thought process. When they came into the league before the season, we were all very high on the Kotka Eagles about what they could accomplish. I'll go back and check the tape if y'all want to. I got receipts. We said they were going to be a good team. We said they were going to be a middle of the road type team.
Yeah.
And they went out there.
Q didn't.
Yeah.
Q wasn't sold on them from what I can remember.
Ultimately, I thought that they were going to be a good team, and they went out there. They didn't really have the import situations under control, and they flopped. Well, I don't think the Steelers are going to flop, but I do think that there's a lot we don't know about them, and I'm not going to give them a playoff spot, and I don't know who they are. That's what I'm saying, is that we don't know this team. This is not the Steelers that I known through the dynasty. This is a whole new group. I know some of the players. I know some of the coaches. I know the parts, but this is not the Steelers of old, so I'm not going to give them a pass and say, oh, you're a playoff team. They're going to have to prove it during the season. That's why they're number 5 for me. That's it. It's just they have to prove something. Okay? All right. Y'all got me defensive over here, though, man.
Hey, what it's all about. They
I was like, what?
Surprised me, bro. He surprised me.
All right.
I ain't gonna lie. I was like expecting you to say them, but what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean that's how it always is. That's what makes this show good, is that we don't confer about this at all until we do this show. But let's move on to 4th place now. Talk about teams that we think are going to actually get into the playoffs this year.
Calling all youth football players. Are you ready to shine this midsummer? Join us at the AFF Nordic Challenge, June 18th through 21st in Helsinki. Showcase your skills to USA college coaches, train with some of the top coaches in Europe, and compete in one-on-ones. Get insider tips at exclusive recruiting sessions and seize international opportunities. You can even win big with camp-sponsored prizes. Space is limited, so register now.
All right, so now we're talking 4th place. We're talking playoff contenders. For now that we're getting a little bit into the higher seeds, we can go a little bit more in depth. If you got a little rebuttal in you, put out a little rebuttal. It's time to kind of weed out who's going to be good and who's not. Chris, I'll let you take this one first. Who you got for 4th place?
So number 4, making the playoffs in the 4th spot, I've got the Kuopio Steelers. The reason being, they're a solid team. Okay, they're a little bit unknown. I agree with what you said. They're not going to be the Steelers of old, but I feel like they're going to have a bit of a Nessie effect. I think he's going to do great with that offense. I think he's a good coach. He's been in the league a long time. He knows what it takes to win. I think he's got the players to back him up, whereas in Kotka, he didn't really have the players to back up what he coached and what he did with his system. So I feel like Kuopio, he's in a good place there. He's got better players. I don't think they're going to be like the heavy pounding run team that we're used to seeing with the Reasonovers and that what we're used to seeing. But I feel like they're going to be a solid team. And I feel like preseason, they're looking good. They've had their quarterback there for a while, so he's going to get some chemistry with his receivers, which is always good. It's handy to have that at the start of the season because not every team gets that. Sometimes the imports or the quarterback comes in sort of like April, May time, and they've only got a few practices with the team. So chemistry is hard to get early on in the season. But when you've got a guy who's been in there already for a few months, he's got that chemistry built up. He's ready to go. So I feel like they're going to start okay, and I feel like they're going to be a playoff spot at the end of the season. So yeah, I've got the Steelers at 4.
Okay, I like that. I'm not going to rebuttal you yet, but I got something to say. Q, who do you have it for?
I got it for Crocodiles. San Diego Crocodiles. I got it 4. I think they're still going to be a good team. I think they missed their window. I'm just going to say that. I think they missed their window last year. But I think they are better than the teams that we named before coming into the season. CP is over there. Can't count him out. You know, he's healthy. He's gonna have him in the playoffs. I just think that they missed that window, and now everybody else that I feel like is above them and brought in better, people to help them be better teams. And I think Sanioki, the depth chart that I've seen, that I have. Right now, I just don't think are better than the top 3. But we'll see. This is, like you say, it's a preseason prediction. But I got San Diego coming.
Man, I want to debate both of those, but I really don't. I don't have anything to disagree. Y'all both made really good points about them. I will say this about the Steelers, though, is Chris, you did a great job talking about the Nessie effect and how good the team was going to be, and having the quarterback there with his college receiver. Actually, it's a tandem that came there. So that's a really good job. But you didn't mention their defense.
No,
we don't know nothing about that defense. And what we know about in Finland is, it's a Big 12 out here. Everybody's going to score, but can you stop anybody? And that's what I'm more concerned about anything, because defense not more than offense, but it's one of those things where you could throw out good players on defense and it can still not work. I'm not necessarily sure they even have good players. They have one returning defensive starter from last season, from the team that played last season. One guy, Lars Steffen, the German, the import. He's the only guy that they have that played on that defense that will be playing again this year as a starter. And you're just hoping that they can fill those gaps enough that they can win games. I think that's tough. And
I
said,
get what you're saying, because
they can still make it, but that's tough.
The Steelers of old, we talked about how good their secondary was in the past few seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not last year, but the
year
two
before,
seasons preceding that. Yeah. And how good they were. Someone like Ronnie Lane, he's gone to the Roosters this year. So they've lost one of their best corners. They've lost their safeties. Like, Arrow's not there either. So they've lost a few players. So, I completely get your point. But, yeah, like you say, it's an offensive league anyway. So I know they're going to score points. And I know they're going to get points scored against them, but can they score more than what's being scored against them, I guess, is the question. Is their offense going to be really high-powered? And I think with the quarterback and receivers and getting the quarterback in this year, I feel like they're going to score more points. So, but, yeah, it's a very valid point you make.
The age-old question of how to win a football game, you have to score more points than the other team. That's right. It. That's football in a nutshell. If you score more points than the other team, you will always win.
You're going to win.
You will win if you score more points than the other team scores on you. And what I want to say about Q's pick is, you're a hater, man. How you gonna put the Crocodiles at 4? You came at me for saying a team that didn't make playoffs won't make playoffs again. You put the team that only lost in the championship at 4. The return.
I'm glad you said it.
That race.
I'm glad you said it.
The disrespect. The disrespect.
They still in the race. I think that last year was their best chance.
I agree.
You know who he's going to put number 1, though, don't you?
You'll be surprised.
I have an idea. An idea. But I do think you make a really good point about the Crocodiles. Like, their window might be gone, but I mean, throwing them number 4 is tough. But I understand why you would do it. Like, if your window's gone, I mean, what you really doing out here? But we have to remember the Crocodiles have always been a good, regular season team. That's another thing is we say this kind of like as the whole season. Crocodiles usually are 2 or 3 seed going into the playoffs.
Yeah,
I think a couple years ago they might have been the 4 seed, but you expected them to lose some regular season games for them to be the 4 seed. That's interesting. Now my pick, I haven't talked about mine yet, but for 4th place, I'm going with the Wausau Royals. And you know why? Because you can't count them out.
Can't.
You drunk. You tell me when they don't make the playoffs. Like, they almost always have a chance. The Royals always have a chance to get in the playoffs.
They do have a chance.
I'm not basing this off of anything they got on their team, on their talent. None of it. Got his head knocked back and everything.
Head up to the sky.
Look,
you talking about my pick?
You tell me if I'm wrong.
In the playoffs.
Name a season. Name a season where towards the end of the season, you're not looking at the Royals and be like, they might pull it off.
They somehow do pull it out the bag. Like, he's not wrong. They do.
Even 2 years ago, they didn't make it. But going to the end of the season, we all was like, they might make it. And then last year they actually did. And that was crazy too. Because how you stumble into the playoff? But they did. So I'm putting them at 4 because, look, it's a game of numbers. It's a law of averages. They gonna find a way to get in. I feel like if it comes down like one game here, one game there, you got Alpha Jallo, you got their defense is gonna be stacked this year. They're bringing in an import linebacker. Lamin Lotzika is already a great linebacker. We always talk about Raul Khalifa at linebacker spot. And then you got DeMarcus Artis, who's going to be playing D-line and linebacker for them. Like, teams are going to have to pass. And then in the passing game, they have some good veterans who know what to do. And they're going to be putting pressure on people. And at any point in time, Alpha Jallo can change the game for them.
Oh,
And they're bringing in a new quarterback. And the reason they're bringing in a new quarterback is they're looking for someone to be more of a game manager instead of kind of a play caller. Last year, they had their quarterback, running a lot, throwing a lot, and calling the plays. This year, guys are going to go in and do what they tell them to do. You got Tom Swosty toting that pill, Alpha doing his thing. They have a lot of faith in the young guys, a receiver, Jonathan Portola. Lynn Force is supposed to be stepping up this year. He proved last year he's got great speed downfield, just got to get a little bit better at catching. And the ultimate key is if you have Seppo, you have a chance. The Royals have a chance. And what's going to be crazy to me, I think, this year for them is I have them at the 4, but that's really what I think they have to make it to the playoffs. I think that if they actually get into the 4 spot and they play how I expect them to play going into it, they're going to be kind of like what we were seeing from the Roosters last year, where we kind of, even though they barely got in, we're kind of like, they might actually be the best team. I think that's where the Royals are going to be this year, is that they're going to find their way through the season and do what they always do, stay in it. And when the playoffs come, I think it's similar to the Crocodiles. This is their window. They have maybe this year and maybe the year after. That's their window, because all those young kids they have playing for them are going to leave. Most of them are going to colleges and schools in the States and stuff like that, or going to Army. So they won't have players. So this is their window, and I think that they're going to make it rock, that they make the playoffs for sure. So I got them in the 4th spot.
I mean, we're not a million miles off. Like, I've got them at 5. So when you think about one position, it can be interchangeable. I get what you're saying about Alpha. He's a game breaker. At any point in time, he could score. But their secondary, I don't know about their
I try
secondary.
not to talk too much about it because,
I don't know about their secondary. I like their linebackers and D-line, but I don't know about their secondary.
That's what you got to do. You got to force the team to throw it quick. If the other team throwing it quick, you got a chance. If the other team sitting back there, taking 5 seconds, okay, they're in trouble. But again, it's all speculation. We don't know. So let's move on. Let's move on to 3rd place. All right, let's get into 3rd place teams. I think I'm starting with Q this time. Q, who you got for 3rd place and why?
I'm going 3rd place. I'm going with the Scorpio Steelers. I'm going Scorpio Steelers.
Okay.
The reason is I think Nessie is going to bring something new, something exciting to an already winning organization, winning culture. Yes, there are different coaches. Yes, it's some different players. But I think the name Scorpio Steelers is already set in stone. I think when you come there and play, when you come to play there, they're expecting to win. Last year, we got a one-off, I think. I think they just had a lot of stuff going on in their season last year. I know Nessie's a student of the game. He knows football. I think their offense will carry them this year. I really feel like that. But I think it's going to carry them in the passing game more than it is running. So I think they'll score their way. Like you say, you score more points, you win the game. I think they'll have some shootouts. But I think their offense will be powerful, and I think they'll find their way in the playoffs. Just knowing what we know from the Maple League, like it's anybody's game. But I think Nessie will come in hot, and I think they'll come in throwing the ball a lot and surprising some people. So that's why I got them.
You make good points, man. What about you, Chris? Who you got and why?
Before I go into my pick, since when did Q start giving appreciation to the Scorpios?
Exactly. I'm glad you said it. I didn't want to say it. I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you the one to say it. Hey, we got years of this dude saying Dynasty. I don't think so. Who are these guys? Who even are the Steelers? And now he's like, they're going to be the best ones out here. They're going to put up points. A whole 360, not 360, a whole 180 on them guys. Huh?
No, We going from year to year, man. However they make me feel year to year, then next year we'll see. It might be different. So we'll see.
That's different, but there's always one thing for sure we're going to know about Q. He's going to be loving the Roosters, so I can't wait till he has to talk about them. But anyway, my number 3 pick, just said their name, is the Helsinki Roosters. I think they're going to be one of the most improved teams from last year. I feel like they've got a good crop. I think Ambro is going to be way better than he was last year. He's back where he belongs in Helsinki with the Roosters. I feel they're going to give him a bit more love and attention than what they did in Kuopio. And I just feel like their defense looked really good this year. Their defense and offensive line look really good. So I feel like, we talk about the game being won in the trenches. I feel they're very good up front. So that's why I've got the Roosters at 3. And I think as I said, I think they're going to be the most improved team from last year. And they're going to surprise a few teams this year, definitely. It was hard. I was erring with caution. I was almost putting them at 2. So I think I'm going to like what the Roosters are going to put on film this year.
You know what's interesting is that you have them at 3 and say they're most improved, and I'm pretty sure they came in 3 last year.
They did, but I feel like
most improved, same position.
Like position, I just feel like they're going to be a better team. So we're talking about, and in the playoffs, who knows? You never know. It's anyone's game in the playoffs, but I feel like they're going to be in the same position, but I think they're going to be a better team. And like I said, I almost put them at 2. So I was chopping and changing between 2 and 3, but I've decided to put them at 3. But I feel like, as I said, they are going to be the most improved team. I think they're going to win more games than they won last year, but I still think they're going to be about 3.
Yeah. I think just to add on some fuel about the Roosters, I'm never going to forget that 17-point comeback they gave up to the Butchers. Like, I'm never going to forget that. That was tough. Like, that was the craziest thing I've seen in years. And I don't think they'll do that this year. I think you said a lot of really good things about their defense. Like, that was their Achilles heel last year. Is I don't care what you say. If it wasn't Alexei Olin, they weren't stopping nobody in the pass game. Like, it just wasn't happening. They brought a kid from Sweden just to go sit on the bench. I don't know what that was even about. But they didn't do anything to stop, like all the really good receivers that we had last year. And this year you've seen they put in a lot of effort towards shoring up that defensive backfield. They're gonna have a new defensive coordinator, but he's been here for a while, so they shouldn't have any like issues like getting all that going. But I like them at 3 too, but that's not where I'm going to put them. I'm going to put the Crocodiles at number 3 this year. And hopefully that's not a huge thing. I'm putting them at number 3 only because, like we said earlier, I think the window's passed. I don't have the same vibe from them. It's not even about the football team. Like, I think they're going to be good. CP is always going to be great. The quarterback they're bringing in is going to be an improvement of what they had last year. And their defense is still going to be a good unit, but like the vibe is gone. Like you can feel it in the air out here in Finland. I'm in Lahti and I can feel it. Like they don't have that same like to them. I don't think they're going to be able to like. Last year they basically walked through the season. They had a lot of close games, but nothing that really like tested them. And then in the championship they laid an egg. I think this year they're going to be good. They're going to be one of the best teams. We're going to talk about them week to week and be like, hey, this team can win it all, blase, like we normally do. But when it comes to a couple of games, a couple of matchups against some of these teams I have ranked higher, I think they can't pull it off. And just a couple of games here and there, now you're looking at 3rd place instead of 2nd or 1st place. So the only reason I put them at 3 is I feel like they're going to be better than they were last year, but I feel like a lot of teams have gotten a lot better than they were last year. And they're just a little bit better than they were last year. So overall, the whole league is going to be better. So that's why I have them at 3rd place. Sorry I'm rambling, but I feel like I have to do this one a little bit because they should be higher, but I just got to be honest about where I see this team going. Anybody? I think that's it for 3rd place, right? Let's move on to 2nd place. Let's talk about runner-ups. All right. Moving into 2nd place. Chris, we'll start with you. I think you and your 2nd place is probably my 3rd place.
Yeah, I think it's my go. Yeah, I think it's my go. So at 2, man, why are you putting disrespect on them? The Senioki Crocodiles. I've got them at 2 still. I don't feel like their window's passed. I still feel like they're within that vicinity. They've still got CP. They've upgraded on Zach Whitehead, who was a quarterback last year. So they've got a better QB this year. I get what you're saying about the vibe. I completely understand. Like, I kind of get that feeling a little bit as well, but I feel they've still got juice in the tank. I still feel like CP was playing some of his best football last year. He's still going to be a workhorse.
CP could drag them into the playoffs. Like, in worst case scenario, they say nothing is working. Let's just hand it off number 15, and they make playoffs. Like, that's a given for sure.
That's what I mean. And as long as they give him the ball, and I said this last year in the final, he didn't get enough touches in the final. Like, what, 10 touches?
I think it was 9, 11. So it's whatever it was, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough.
We've said this, and I've said I feel like I keep repeating myself about it as well, because it really frustrates me that they didn't give him the ball, because he did so well in the season and he's always been that workhorse for them. So yeah, I was disappointed that they didn't give him more of the ball in the final. I feel like as long as they give him the ball, they're going to do good things. I still feel like they're a second place team. You know, they had the best record in the league last year. They only lost one game, and that was on a technicality. So for me, I still feel like they're a number 2 team.
Respect where respect is needed. That makes sense.
It is. And I completely understand about everything about the Crocodiles. Like, they're not great in the postseason. They haven't been. They keep losing in the final. They've lost in the final so many times. And I said about Windows last year, about the Crocodiles, this was their year. Last year was their year.
Boy, that curse.
It was a bit of a curse. I think they're going to finish 2 in the regular season. Do I see them in the Maple Bowl final this year? I'm not going to give that away yet, but we'll see.
You know what I'm going to throw in there about the Crocodiles? You know why they're not winning the Maple Bowl like they're supposed to? They don't do snapbacks. I said it. They do not have a snapback. They have them bucket caps, which is cool and all.
I want a bucket cap. Senioki, I gave you your flowers. You're number 2. Get me a bucket hat. Get me a bucket hat, and I'll wear it with pride.
If they send me a snapback, I'll put them in the championship. And you can ask the butchers. You can ask the butchers about that, but you ain't gonna talk too much about them right now. We talk about second place. Q, who do you have in second place? Who I think I know who you have in second place also.
Second place goes to the Helsinki Roosters.
What? I knew it. I knew it.
Yeah.
I thought he was gonna put 1.
No, the reason that I'm going 2 because I like you said, Chris, earlier. They're gonna be one of the most improved teams. I think another year under their offense coordinator, they're gonna be good. I think the Roosters as a team overall will be good. I don't think they're gonna be. It is going to be one standout that I think is going to be unsuspected by a lot of people, and that's Santu Vähämäki, man. I think this is going to be a big year for him. I think they're going to get him the ball when they need to, and I think they're going to have a lot of big plays on offense. I think the defense will be good overall. I think the Roosters are now in a situation, organization-wise, where they need a championship. They need a championship. It's been some years. Yes, they've been close and all that, but they need to go back to that normal Rooster culture. And I think this year will be the year. Like I said, the Crocs missed their window, so I think the Roosters will gain that back, that title back as far as, hey, it comes through us or whatever, you know. But I'm looking at them being 2. And also, I'm just not going to disrespect Porvo Butchers like that. So, because it would, I mean, they're the reigning champions. They look like they serious about winning it again. So, like, I think they're, we'll get to them, you know, that pick. But I just think the Roosters will be at the end of the season. I think they'll come in second. Playoff time, I don't know how that'll go, but I would hope that they do good there too. But I still think Porvo is just a stronger team. So I'm going Roosters too.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Q here, and I'm gonna go with the Roosters at 2 also. I agree 100% with everything you said about them. And you too, Chris. You said it earlier. They'll probably be the most improved team, and I think that's a lot more than the way we're saying it. You're like, oh, they're most improved. They must not have been good last year. They were good last year. They just weren't good at getting. Like they start off like 0-4 or something like that, if I'm not
Yeah, they
mistaken.
lost like 3-4 in a row.
Yeah, they started off
1-4
bad.
something. Yeah.
And let's just call it what it is. We can blame the imports on that. Like we can blame the imports. Hugh said they need to fire everybody anyways.
Quarterback got to go.
Yeah, they all need to go. And they actually
He
got
was
rid of
terrible at the start of the year. And then
and
they
actually
changed the receiver as well, didn't they?
They changed from a slot receiver to a legitimate outside receiver, and
he was a beast.
It was a huge difference.
Danny Kittner.
Huge difference. Yeah,
what
Danny Kittner. Yeah, it was a huge difference, and you saw the team progress as the season went along. And even as they went into the playoffs, and we were saying this on the show all the time, like they're dangerous. Like that's a team that could end up in the Maple Bowl because they were playing so good. And the only thing that really held them back was their defense. Because like we've said before, it was garbage. It just wasn't good. They couldn't guard, one-on-one matchups or even get in the right coverage a lot of times. A lot of times we saw their cornerbacks getting beat. And we're like, oh, the cornerback's not good. And then someone would send me a message like, well, actually, our safety was supposed to be helping, but he didn't. I'm like, yeah, that's tough for you. I'm not taking it back on the pod. But, that happened a lot last year for them. Like their secondary just didn't work in sync as it should. And it set them up for failure because their defensive line was really good. Will Little, he almost had the sack record, matter of fact. But then, things happened. Stat correction. He didn't end up with the thing. But when you look at the Roosters team, they're bringing back almost the same team. That offensive line, hands down, best one in the league. Going to be 2 years running now. They've even got a couple more backups on that line who got some time and who can replace the starters without you even noticing. You really got to watch the film to notice that they put in a lot of backups on the offensive line last year, and you couldn't tell the difference between starters and backups. That's how good their offensive line is. They're easily there's 5 people. They have at least 2 backups. They're at least 7 or 8 guys deep on the offensive line, and they can run the ball. Last year they had a lot of running backs. This year, I don't think it's been confirmed that all the running backs are coming back per se, but it really doesn't matter. Whoever gets the ball is going to have a good time. And they're going to be able to put up points similar to like what we were talking about with the Kuopio Steelers. They're going to be able to put up points, but I have way more faith in their defense. That's why I put them at 2, because they're going to be able to put up points and stop you from getting points. And just like what Q said, just to double up and finish this off, is Santu Vekamaki going to come out this year. I don't think we talked about him for MVP, but that's because he plays receiver. It's really hard to be MVP at receiver, which brings me back to my MVP candidate, Ambro. Y'all gonna put some respect on that man's name this year when y'all see what he does for the Roosters. Ambro Erhansen, I got his last name right on this episode, is gonna be out there just wheeling and dealing, throwing the ball, getting it out of his head. He might even run a little bit. I heard he's been in the gym putting in some work, so maybe gets a little mobile for him this year. But I think they have a lot of weapons offensively, and then they also have a lot of talent on the defensive side. And I think they might have. I think bringing in Ronnie Lane to play corner, he is what I would consider the best finished corner in the country right now. The only corner I consider better than him from the finish side was Ero, not Ero. Ero is the safety from Kuopio, but I think it's Ero was the cornerback who also played at ELF or whatever. But I don't think he's playing in Finland this year. So if that guy's not there at corner, Ronnie Lane is the best cornerback in the country. And behind him would be Tovola from the Crocodiles. I said that. I meant to say that about Tovola earlier when I talked about the Crocodiles. Sorry. That he's underrated at cornerback. So I think they have really good talent on the defensive side this year. So they'll be able to win early instead of win late. Because they won 7 games? How many games did they win last year? They won 7 or 8 games, I think. Yeah. They won 7 games, and they went like 0-4 to start the season. So imagine they go 3-1. You're looking at an 11-2 team, or 12-2 team. No, 10-2. You're looking like a 10-2 team. They might lose twice to the team that we're all going to talk about next. But that's it. Like I really don't think anyone else can beat them one-on-one. I don't think anybody can. I think the Butchers are the only team that they can't consistently beat. And from that 17-point game they gave up last year, they might actually can beat them. They just got to hold them off. And that's something they could do this year. but I won't get too much into that since you know who we got for number one. So let's talk about first place coming up after this. And it's a landslide. First place will be the Corville Butchers. All agree, at least we all agree on this one. Q, what about you? What about this team this year got you thinking, they're going back to back on them, Drake style?
Because of what they're bringing back and the additions that they added, I think they'll come out and be the best team in the league starting off, continuing what they was doing towards the end of the year last year. So Porvo is just in a place right now where they can be good for the next few years. They got a great quarterback, a lot of core guys that are real good that make plays every week. And any team like that, they got the homegrown talent, the finished guys like who've got a year under their belt. You know what I'm saying? And not just a year, but a championship year. So they know how to practice. They know how to, they know how to prepare now. They know what to expect. They know that people are going to be gunning for them. But with the, from seeing their guys and the way that they feel now, they're the big dogs. So the only way that people know you're a big dog is if you walk like it and you talk like it and you win. So I think Porvo is just in a good position to be the best team in the league starting off preseason, starting off going into the season. Like I wouldn't want to play them first because I think they're hungry for another championship. So that's why I got them in at first.
What about you, Chris? What are your thoughts on them?
But before I talk about the Butchers, it is very interesting that the three of us only picked the same team altogether, all three of us, for first and seventh place, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, I was just looking at the things and I was like, that's crazy. I think this year we're going to have to put out our individual picks so people know how unpredictable it is, for sure.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, the Butchers. I'm just going to yell out a few names for you who they've got coming back. Not everyone, but who they've got coming back. Brandon Gwinner, quarterback, back. Miko Sepinen, back. Lucas Erla, I think he's going to have a breakout year. We talked about it in the MVP chats as well. He's back. Zach Wright, back. Amazing defensive back. Nico Nuusonen is now back playing as well on the defensive line, so it's going to help their defensive line. Jesse Vuxen-Torja, he's back. And that's just to name a few guys. Mickey J, another guy, he's back. They've also kind of sorted out a little bit about their secondary as well. They've got two more defensive backs. They've got Rod Sylvester, who played D1 in the States. And they've also got a defensive back from the Vasa Royals who played last year, Jose Penasumba, I think his name is.
I call him number 20. I call him number
20. There you go.
Exactly
number 20. Yeah, number 20. So, and they've got that. And then they've also signed a bit of a Swiss Army knife in Adam Cofield, who's going to be probably playing a bit in the backfield, a bit of receiver. So they've got dynamic players all over the place. They've got most of their guys back. They've got both of their defensive line and offensive line back. They're just going to be as solid as they were last year. They were such a good team last year. And I know none of us picked them to win the Maple Bowl final out of the three of us, but they did so well all season. And I think that they're going for that repeat. They're going for that two on the bounce, back to back, baby.
Yeah, I agree with both you guys. Like, first of all, I was at the championship game, wearing my Crocodiles gear and my Butchers gear because I'm a fair weather fan. It is what it is. But at the end of that game, when they won the championship, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy that this team won, this organization. A lot of these guys have been, grinding for years with the Butchers, specifically talking, Miko Sepinen. It's always good to see him be successful. And I was like, man, this is a good way for a lot, especially like the older guys. This is a good way for them, in their career. I went out on top. I brought the Butchers back, the new dynasty. I helped start that. And then this offseason happened, and all these guys are coming back. I'm like, hold on, what is going on? I was most surprised when they brought back, when I saw that Zach Wright was coming back and Brandon Gwinner were coming back, that's when I knew they were serious. Because, I mean, anybody can say, we're going to try to win it again, but obviously we can't bring back the same people because, it's not right for them, blah, blah. No, they went and said, we're bringing back what got us there, and we're going to re-up. The main player that they didn't bring back was my guy Christian Nottonen. But he still might show up, right? Because he's playing.
He's coming after the Swedish season. I'm telling you.
Yeah, there's no reason for him not to come. He's probably going to come back to Finland anyways. So they pretty much brought everyone back, and the team that won last year was the best team in the league. The two times they lost to the Crocodiles, they didn't feel like they should have lost. Actually, I think the first time it was a kind of loss, but I do know that when I went to Portvue and watched them play the Crocodiles, and I put on the Portvue hat for the first time, they went undefeated for that second half. And I think I gave them that gift of, we can do this. And in the championship game, they did what they had to prove. I just feel like – go ahead.
Was it the Butchers and the Crocodiles game where they had that
touchdown
questionable call with the
they didn't have enough refs. They were missing a ref in the back of the end zone who would have been able to call the touchdown, but the other refs couldn't see it from their angle, so it wasn't a touchdown, and it would have tied the game.
Yeah.
It was Lucas Erla in the back of the end zone beating.
And he was definitely in. 100%.
Yeah, he was in. Everybody saw it on film, but you couldn't see it from the field, from where the judges were. And there should have been a back judge right there, but there wasn't. They didn't have enough referees at the game. So that was unfortunate. But again, it all worked out in the end, especially for Lucas when he had 3 touchdowns in the championship game.
Right. Yeah. And he's going to break out this year. There's going to be big things from him this year, I'll tell you.
Karma is karma. I think with the Butchers coming back this year, it's more about proving the staying power of their youngsters than it is like just winning. Because I feel like you talk about Nico Royko, Jesse. I'm just gonna call him Jesse. I can't say his last name right. And then Mickey J, Mikko Seppänen, all these kind of veteran guys. Even the big left tackle, number 70, what's his name? Vino? Is it Vino? I think that's his name. These guys who've kind of been around for a while, you're like, okay, yeah, we want to keep winning, but that's not who they're playing for. They're playing for those other 3 offensive linemen, the 2 twins out there on the offensive line, Lucas Erla at receiver, Alexi Hervinen at running back, number 22, the youngster who might be faster than Lucas and running the 40. Like, that's who this team is playing for, those youngsters, so that they have that feeling of, hey, this is what Portvue Butchers is. We're not a middle-of-the-road team that can maybe make playoffs but can't get to the game. We're a championship-caliber team. And even talking to them this season, we had a couple of interviews with guys. Everyone's been saying, it's different this year. Like, the offseason is different. We have more people coming to practice. It's more competitive than it was last year. We have new players coming. We have old players coming back. Like, winning a championship does that for you, and I think them winning a second one is what will cement them for the next decade. That's how you start, as we say all the time, a dynasty. You got to win a couple, right? And for them, they don't want to be a one-off. They want to win a dynasty. And I think that's really important, and you can see it from their team in all phases right now. In the offseason, you can see them working. They got a lot of stuff going online, but when you talk to the players, they're excited about the season. And they're not overconfident either. That's what's really interesting about this group is, I mean, me personally, if I win a championship, I'm the champion until I lose the next one. That's how I feel about it. I'm an LA Rams fan. I'm still riding that 2019, baby. Let's go. But this team, they're focused. Anytime someone's like, the Rams aren't good, I'm like, 2019, it happened. We've done it. I don't care.
That's why I know if we win a bowl, that's when I'm retiring, because I can retire and that's it.
Yeah,
I'm still the champ.
Yeah, be the
I
champ.
didn't lose one.
And don't be I said I wasn't gonna talk about this, but don't be a Dallas Cowboys fan and come up to me and be like, y'all got more rings. Y'all ain't won in like 40 years. Rams, we won a couple years ago. Yeah, it was a couple years ago. It wasn't recent, but not everybody wins. The only people that can really talk smash to me now is the Chief fans, and that's cool. That's cool. Y'all winning multiple. I'm not trying to win multiple. I just want to win one. But that's not the case with the Butchers. They don't have that. What is it when you like complacency? I have that. Perfect Purpose has that complacency. If I win one, I'm leaving. I'm done. But the Butchers, this organization, they're pushing forward is like they want more. They want to be a dominant force, and I really think more than anything, because last year, they were the Dallas Cowboys until they weren't. I think they want to be taken seriously as a contender more than an underdog. And I think that's a different mindset that a lot of people, not to be too offensive, but a lot of people in Finland don't have. A lot of people in Finland prefer to be, the underdog, or they feel like they're not good enough. I don't think that's the case with this Butchers team. I think we're going to see a team come out, do what they want, play how they want to play, and impose their will on their opponents more than a team that just goes out and tries to find a way to win. I think a lot of teams are going to try to find ways to win. I think the Butchers are going to try to win their way with their guys, how they want to, and do it in a dominant fashion. That's why I got them at number 1. I don't see anybody really coming close to them this year. I don't see any close games. I think the Roosters are the closest team to them, but even when they play the Roosters, I don't think it'll be close. I said it. And I meant to.
Bold statement. Bold statement, especially preseason.
I don't think anybody's gonna be close to them this year. And they better not prove me wrong. They better prove me right. I got the hat, I got the shirt, I got the championship hat too, but I left it in the closet because it's old now. But I'm ride or die. Let's go. Go Butchers. Go Butchers. Should I start? No, I can't be walking around with like a cleaver. Like, is that what the Butchers use? Like a cleaver knife or something? That's a little much. Just walking around with a cleaver, like, go Butchers. A little tough. But I think we got all the teams now. So in the next section, we'll go over our consensus and try to come up with like where we have everybody and do kind of a general discussion. Okay, so I'm just going to look on the screen here and read over the consensus. Tell me if I'm too off, but I looked at where we picked everybody. I know we had a lot of different picks, but it looks like in 7th place for the AFF consensus, we have Wolverines.
Yep.
Yeah. In 6th place, we're putting the Crusaders. And then it's going to get tricky after that. But in 5th place, Royals. 4th place, Steelers. Are we cool with that? Any disagreements?
I'm cool. I mean, that was my bottom 4. That was my bottom 4.
Okay. What about you, Q? I see you over there chuckling.
No, we good. I mean, it's 3rd and 4th good. We good. Yeah, good.
Yeah. And then 3rd place, I went with Crocs at 3rd, Roosters at 2, because I think 2 of us had the Roosters at 2.
Yeah, you 2 had the Roosters. To be honest, like I was chopping and changing between 2 either. I think 2 and 3 are interchangeable, so I'm good with that.
Yeah. I think they're interchangeable as well, those 2. And then, of course, their first is the Butchers. So I just want to kind of take this moment a little bit so we can kind of talk about all the teams and how they relate to each other. Because a lot of times, we're just talking about where they're going to land. But what are some of your overall thoughts about some of these teams this season? Chris, you can lead this one off, man.
I'd like to know who the Wolverines have got. I'd like to know what they're going to do this year because we just don't know. And then in terms of the Crusaders, I hope that they put their imports to work, and I hope it works out for them because I don't want to see them have a terrible season again. Like I want to see them. I'd like Rojo to be successful. If they're the surprise package, I'm going to say they're a bit of the bogey team. They're one of the teams that you don't want to play, just because you don't know what you're going to get from them. You could get Crusaders that are up here. You could get Crusaders that are here. You don't know what you're going to get for them. I think they're just unpredictable as a team. I think the Royals are going to be solid. As I said, this season, Alpha's a game breaker. He's always going to be there. He could score anytime he's got the ball in his hands. Steelers, different team they're going to be this year, but I still think they're going to be in the playoffs. They're a solid team. I think Nessie's going to put a bit of magic back on the city of Kuopio. The Roosters, as I said before, most improved team. I think they're going to be there in the playoffs, going for that number 2-3 spot. Crocs, in CP we trust. We know that. And then the Butchers are going to be the Butchers. They brought all the guys back. They're going to be solid this year. So I think we've got a good list compiled here between us.
What about you, Q? What do you think about our overall list and some of these teams?
I mean, I think overall everybody is in like their close proximity of where they need to be. Like you said, the Butchers. I think it's the Butchers, and then it's everybody else. Anywhere from 2 to 5, 2 to 5, 2 to 6. it's going to be a good season for that and for those numbers. Everybody in there should be a dogfight, because there isn't, besides the Butchers, there isn't a team that's just clearly we know that's going to be like really, really good. Crocs are going to be good, but like, are they going to be dominant like they were the first 10 games of the season? Not sure, but 2 to 5 it's going to be hell in there because they're going to be scrapping for places and but that calls for good football. So the Wolverines, like we said, was in 7th. I think we're not off on that, on seeing that. Like I said, unless they just have some drastic change of players they bring it in. But other than that, it's a dog fight from anywhere from 6 and up, 6 to 2. It's a dog fight. So we'll see. But I think we're not far off from the prediction.
I like that analogy. I like that. I like that analogy. Between 2 and 5 or 6 is going to be a dogfight. I like that. Like, and I think you're right. I think any of those teams on any given day could beat each other. So I think it is the Butchers versus the rest. So I like that analogy, Q. I didn't really think of it that way.
Well, I thought of it exactly that way. Q took everything I was going to say. Like that's all. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was going to say 2 through 6, and he went out there and said it. I agree with everything Q said about it. That's crazy. I think it's going to be similar to what we saw last year. I mean, if anyone who actually kept up with the season last year, early on it looked a certain way, and by the end of it, we're looking at Royals, Roosters, Kuopio Steelers, all fighting for the last 2 spots. The last 2 spots. And then how they got in, we weren't sure where they're going to land. The only 2 teams that we knew were going to make the playoffs were 1 and 2, the Butchers and the Crocodiles. And towards the end of the season, it kind of like evened itself out. But those other 2 spots for the playoffs were tough. And the Royals got in at 6 and 6? 6
I think so.
And we really were like, hopefully the Steelers don't get in at 6 because all their wins came when they had a certain somebody. And we were like, don't let them get cheap wins because they can beat the Wolverines. And we looked at the Crusaders and we're like, if the Crusaders make the playoffs, that's crazy because they're so good. But then they play so bad when they didn't have the right people. They didn't have enough players. They lost certain games. And you're like, oh, they should have won. I think we're looking at that again this year. Like you said, Q, it's going to be a dogfight going down to the end of the season. Like there's going to be teams that are right around 5 or 6 wins. And I'm really interested to see what games are pivotal in changing how it goes. Last year there was a schedule change in the middle of the season where the Royals had to play 4 games in 13 days. They had to play the Roosters twice in like a week and a half period. They lost both games, I think. And that puts the Roosters in the playoffs pretty much. Is being able to take advantage of the scheduling snafu that they had, but it also made the Royals playoff push not as good as it should have been. I think we're going to have another season where the schedule and when teams get hot is going to play a big part about how teams get into the playoffs. I think that we're looking at teams like the Steelers, the Royals, and probably the Crusaders again. I think those 3 teams are the teams that we're going to be on the bubble of that 4th place. And we're going to be like, oh, they might get in, or they might not get in. And then towards the end of the season, we'll find out who actually makes it. So I'm excited about seeing that. I think it's going to be a really good season. But I do think we got good predictions up here too. But also it can be the other way. Butchers versus everybody, like what Q said.
Hey there, fans of American football in Finland. Want to show some love and support to your favorite podcast? For just €3, you can buy us a cup of coffee and help keep our podcast running strong. But why stop at 1 cup? Why not support each host with a cup? Visit buymeacoffee.com and show your support today. Cheers to keeping the conversation going.
All right, that's it for this episode of American Football in Finland. You guys got any last words you want to say before we get out of here?
For me, the funniest thing about this episode, and I think this every year as well, is that one, we don't discuss our picks beforehand, so I love the reactions. It's proper live reactions. Number two, our opinions change so much over the season because we just gone off blind here. We're only going by what we've seen with signings and stuff like that. So they change. Where do we have the Butchers ranked last year? Like 4 or 5?
We moved them up to number 2 for the midsummer predictions. That's
what I mean.
what really counts. The midsummer is where we make our money.
The midsummer one, we have a much better idea. But now preseason, it's great. I love it. I love the camaraderie. It's fun talking about it. But yeah, no, I just thought it was quite funny to just needed to point that out. But yeah, it's good.
Yeah. What about you, Q? Any last words?
No, I ain't got nothing, man. That was good. This was a good one right here. Definitely surprising picks, but also not surprising. Because we all see these teams in like different lights. We all see them,
True.
potential. We see like no hope, some hope. You know what I'm saying? But it, like Chris said, it changes like week to week. It's like you say, it's predictions. So you don't really know. You just throwing stuff out there off of the information you got right now. But it's not gold. You know what I'm saying? So I'm interested in seeing how close we are actually. Like when the season starts, like after a few games, I'm gonna be like, oh wow, like they really are really good, or they really are really bad. Like, so it's that's the beauty of it. It's still a lot of football to be played, but it's still fun talking about it because we really don't know, but it's still like good to see, like, all right, we can notice certain things about teams. But like I say, besides the Butchers, and I'm gonna say this again, I've seen their signings in the offseason, and I was just like, nobody is taking this next season as serious as the Butchers right now. Like everybody should be taking this season as serious as they are, because they showed early. They didn't even they enjoyed the championship, but soon after the championship, we started hearing about signings, and it was like, all right, like, hey, we trying to do this again, we trying to run this back. So that's interesting. I just think that like when you see stuff like that, you can say, all right, they serious about it, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, I want to thank the teams for making this so interesting for us, because I really feel like it's one of those things that we do this every year, and like what is it, season 9? So we've done it a lot, but normally you have a really good handle on what players are coming in or what teams are doing. This year we really don't have a good handle on it, because these teams have all done interesting and different things to get ready for this season, which gives us more perspective. And like what Q said, we're all coming from different views on a lot of these teams. So this was probably one of the best prediction shows we've had in a long time, because I mean, we're making it up, obviously, but we're working with a lot of new information, and these teams are all I think every team that we named, like there was always good and bad to talk about, but a lot of it was mostly just good, just new differences, them trying to win or them doing things that we know are going to help them become a better team. Like I said earlier in the episode, this league this year, these teams, these players, these coaches, everyone's better than what we had last year. I'm not going to compare it to like 2017. I'm not going to do all that. But from last year, from 2023 to 2024, this league is better, which makes us making these predictions harder, which makes this show more enjoyable. So I'm really glad we were able to do it. Good luck to all the teams out there. We'll be watching you here on the podcast every week. I think this might be our last show before the actual preseason shows, like before the week 1. So until then, follow, like, subscribe, all social media channels at American Football in Finland. Until next time, never forget
F.
we gone.
We go.